Hi folks, this is Dr. Rob Cywes, and today we're going to talk about 5 critical issues related to exercise. What are the 5 most important considerations when it comes to exercise? Number one, and the most important thing you can possibly do is protect your joints. All too often we get in the gym, we play sport that places our joints in vulnerable positions. Protect your joints. Be very joint aware when you're lifting, when you're running, when you're jumping, even when you're swimming. Because without your joints, you cannot exercise. Protect your joints. The second most important factor about exercise is your diet. Healthy exercise, long-term ability to exercise, doesn't start in the gym, on the court, in the pool, on the road. It starts in the kitchen. And a low carbohydrate, high fat diet, training and running and working out in ketosis is the way to go. That is the healthiest diet for your body. Now, there are times when you may actually need or use carbohydrates for endurance, for some sprints, but not as the baseline of how you work. If your car runs on gasoline, occasionally hitting the nitrous button is okay. That's ketosis, that's burning fat, and then occasionally using sugar from time to time. If you want to know more, reach out to me. But diet, low carb, high fat, ketogenic diet, is the healthiest way for your body to tolerate exercise. The third most important aspect about exercise is create the space, especially for beginners. If it's not something you do every day, if you go out there and just blast into exercise, you're going to crash and burn. One of the exercise formats that's kind of gone by the wayside is P90X. Most of you have heard of it, certainly in the US, but I love the P90X concept, which is if you're starting to exercise, you've decided, okay, I want this as part of the space in my life. Start with a tiny little bit and use what I call the N+1 training schedule. So for example, you see me here sitting on a treadmill. When I start my running program each year, and I love to run, shout out to Gate in Jacksonville, the Gate River Run in Jacksonville, a 15K. Love that race. I'm in my 11th year this year of the Gate River Run. But the point is, when I start, you see my treadmill here because I live in Florida and it's 99, 100 degrees outside. So in the summer I run indoors. But I start with a very, very short distance. I might start at 0.5 miles, even 0.1 mile. And each day I go up by 0.1. Then I'm not stiff and sore, I'm not beaten up. I may start with 5 curls at a light weight. And then every day I add 1 curl. Because remember, if you look at how old you are right now, and you think about an age at which you want to die. Let's say for me it's over the next 50 years. I would like to live another 50 years healthily. Remember that longevity is most closely tied to mobility. And mobility comes from flexibility and muscle action. The ability to stand up, the ability to sit down, the ability to walk, the ability to move. Can't move, you're moving toward death at a much accelerated rate. So therefore, if exercise is going to be part of your life over the next 50 years, let's say, you don't have to do it all in one day. Create the mental space, create the space in your life every day that come hell or high water, that space is going to be filled. Just in the work that I do, I've never met a fat guy who was too busy to stop and have a meal. Well, reorient yourself. Make yourself the person that is never too busy to fill that space with a little bit of physical activity or exercise. But in order to create that space, you can't go for 2 hours at one time, you'll crash and burn. Start with 5 minutes, start with 10 minutes, use the N+1 concept, create the space, create the streak, and then you can always build it up and diversify it. The third most important aspect about exercise is this. the most important muscle in the human body that is always active, as long as you're alive, whether you're asleep or awake, is this thing, the heart. The heart. The heart is the most important muscle in the human body. It is the muscle that is doing the majority of the work every day, that is doing the most work of any muscle in a 24-hour period. Protect your heart. If you're just starting out, start slow, build it up. Cardiovascular health is one of the commonest causes of death in our country and in the world right now. Work your heart, exercise your heart, build it up slowly. So when you are exercising, do a mixture of strength as well as endurance or cardiovascular, so-called aerobic exercise. Train your heart as much as you train your other muscles. The fourth rule about exercise is your muscles perform two separate tasks. Yes, of course, there's a crossover, but they perform two separate tasks. And if you're going to do exercise, train both components equally. Your muscles, first and foremost, have strength to them. So work on the strength. But they also have endurance and flexibility. So if you're going to design a comprehensive program for yourself, have strength components. Have strength components, whether you're using your body weight or using other weights, but also have a flexibility and endurance component. Make sure, in the old days we used to call it white muscle and red muscle fiber. The concept is still relevant, not necessarily scientifically, but from an imaginary perspective. Red muscle is the Arnold Schwarzenegger muscle. That's where you're pumping iron and building things up. Doesn't matter what the sport is. Even athletes who want to be thin, like my friend Zach Bitter, who's a 100-mile world record holder. Extra weight doesn't help him, but having strength, having that red muscle fiber is of benefit when it comes to his distance running. So build up the red muscle, have times when you do that, but also build up flexibility and white muscle fiber, which is more the aerobic, fast action fiber. And I know that the exercise gurus out there are going to argue with me about it. It is really about the concepts of strength versus flexibility and endurance. And flexibility and endurance may be about stretching, it may be about yoga, but it also is about repetitive action. And the fifth, and I'm not sure where to rank this, I've put it fifth, but it probably should be near the top. The most important thing about exercise is it is the most important effort-based emotion management system that you can possibly use for your mind. A healthy emotion management system requires the investment of effort and the reward is on the back end, as opposed to an addiction where the reward is on the front end and there's a price to be paid on the back end. When you are being physically active or exercise, it requires effort up front. But when you put that effort up front, and while you're performing that physical activity, while you're in your swim, while you're playing some basketball, while you're going for your run, while you're in the gym, allow your brain, allow your head to connect with your subconscious and identify and process during that wonderful relaxation of the exercise. Allow your head to connect with and process some of the issues, some of the emotional tension that is driving our anxiety and our stress and our depression and our anger and our fear and our sadness and our boredom and our pleasure. Process things so that by the time you're done with your workout, you're feeling really proud of yourself, and that pride builds self-esteem and self-confidence, but also you've come to terms with certain things in your life. 5 components of a healthy exercise paradigm. If you enjoyed this video, remember we do these for free. But support us at our Patreon account. You'll see the information below. Disseminate this widely. Feel free to share it. But also please like this video. If you subscribe to our channel, if you like this video, that brings some income in, not to me, but it allows us to produce more of this content. Thanks so much. Thanks, Gate. and get out there every day is a good day to be physically active.